Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Mr. William Roddie Bryan, known to others in his community as Roddie, was the person who recorded Ahmaud Arbery's shooting death. Mr. Bryan was arrested and detained today for murder and other charges. In the following video, though Mr. Bryan insists that he is not proud of the video, he appears to paint himself as a hero.
If the video wasn't there, I don't think there would be an outcome that anybody would be satisfied with. But I'm not proud that I shot the video, but maybe it helps.
Mr. Bryan, I hope you understand that your decision to videotape this may be what makes all the difference in the administration of justice in this case. Are you aware of that?
In other words, thank you for being reckless and recording this young man's murder on this video, because you are going to help him. You are going to make sure that these people that murdered him receive justice, as well as yourself. Now listen to how he struggles to try to empathize with the family.
Yes, sir. If there wasn't a tape, then we wouldn't know what happened.
And how do you feel about that?
I would. I hope that it, in the end, brings justice to the family and peace to the family.
Well, Mr. Roddie asked for justice and peace for the family, and look at God. The Georgia Bureau of Investigations arrested William Roddie Bryan Jr., age 50, on Thursday on charges of felony murder and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment, according to a news release. Thank you so much for asking for that, Roddie.
Mr. Goff, audience is listening now.
Yes, sir.
What do you want them to understand about why your client was where he was, if it is not true that it was done in coordination with the McMichaels?
Chris, I don't think it's any secret. My client lives in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He's at his house, minding his own business, and I'm trying not to complicate anybody else's job. He's at his house, minding his own business, and things happen, and in a matter of minutes, his life has been changed forever. And this family, the Arbery's, their lives have been changed forever. You know,
what he forgot to say is that Roddie had a choice
in these situations
and Ahmaud didn't.
To see the bigger picture.
Why do you think somebody might take a pot shot at your client?
Because certain people out there, for reasons that are not clear, are deliberately putting all kinds of misinformation out there, to the extent, and I can't speak for the GBI, but I'm sure that however well-intentioned, that is hindering and hampering and impeding their investigation.
Like what?
There's so much distraction. The people out there that are talking about my client being some kind of vigilante, they're conjuring up conspiracy theories that...
Press pause. I wanted you guys to hear this. He's talking about people putting misleading statements out there, creating false narratives. He's talking about people, not giving people a fair shot. People calling this man a vigilante or maybe even a monster. Does any of this stuff sound familiar? Any of it? Let's continue on. I just need y'all to listen. Just listen.
Don't exist. Saying that my client was armed. Everyone knows he wasn't armed. That's never been an issue from day one. And why people would continue to put things out like that, to suggest that somehow he's in cahoots with whatever's been going on up on the third floor at the courthouse with the DAs. Look.
So you mean to tell me that someone is lying on this man of Caucasian persuasion? That there are actually people out there that will make up stories on him and conspiracy theories and things like that? Really? People do that? Wow. Now watch how quick this man throws the McMichaels under the bus.
Greg McMichael worked for the DA's office for many years, and he was a Glenn County police officer before that. My client does not have quote-unquote strong ties to law enforcement. He doesn't have ties to law enforcement.
I got you.
And since he's been in this relationship with this young lady, I can assure you that whether he realized it or not, he had no friends up at the courthouse.
All right.
And all this conversation and these letters and this legal analysis, while his name may have come up in it, nobody up there, with all due respect, gives a darn whether he lives or dies.
And there goes the defense. The way that Mr. Bryan's attorney is describing the way that law enforcement and others feel about him, it almost sounds like he's describing someone of the darker persuasion, don't you think? And then to go as far to say as they don't care anything about him, they don't care if he lives or dies. Interesting how the tables turn.
So the idea that we have anything to do with this delay in the prosecution of this case,
Okay.
We've done everything we could do.
Listen, I got you, and I have no interest in intrigue about local politics. But for those tuning in just right now, what is your reservation again for your client doing what he is eminently capable of doing, saying why he was where he was, why he videotaped as he did, and what he understands happened that day? Why do you not want him to say what can only help clear his name?
Now, regardless of what we feel about this man in this particular situation, what his lawyer is getting ready to explain is very important. Even if we think it's a bunch of bull monarchy, what he's saying holds some truth. So when we go back to the fight that everyone is having right now, when people not understanding why certain individuals feel like they need to stand up or we need to stand up for justice and due process, I want you to listen to it being said by someone from another persuasion and see if it hits the same way.
Because, Chris, in America, as I believe you're well aware, we try our cases in courts of law. And this thing where we've come to in this country over the years, where important cases are being tried in newspapers and on television and on blogs and stuff, that is not serving the interests of justice.
But he's not on trial. He's not going to be
case,
on trial, is he?
He doesn't control anything. He is a pawn in a much larger game.
See, what you're not going to do is talk about the court of public opinion. I mean, after all, it is the highest court in the land. I mean, we have all of these social media attorneys and I know a few that are among the best, one of the best, YouTube attorneys around here, So no shade to them. Shout out to St. James Law Firm, Trent Cochran on the case. But what about those media and social media attorneys, judges, and jurors who don't care about getting to the bottom of things? What about those who try people in the court of public opinion and they run from the truth? What about those people who believe in the presumption of guilt, meaning that you are guilty until proven innocent? What about those people? I'm trying to figure this thing out. I mean, surely if other people have to go through this high court, then this man's client is not exempt from the judgment of social media. Now, of course, at this point, you guys know that I'm clearly being facetious, because we understand that what this attorney is saying is actually true. But we also understand that this has been the struggle of our people since the beginning of time, since this justice system ever appeared, before this justice system ever appeared. So to hear this coming from someone else in regards to this particular person that is facing these charges, it's just different when you're hearing it about someone else, when certain people don't seem to care that it's been happening for years. One thing that he said that I thought was very important was the fact that the defendant has no say-so in everything that's going on. The defendant, this attorney declared, is merely a small pawn in a greater system, especially when you're dealing with a system that has different branches. And this is something that we have been talking about for a while. So go off, lawyer. Go off.
And he has no say-so in that.
But he is a witness, and we
there
have
are people
witnesses
out
on
there
all the time,
who
so the
have
American people can understand maybe that there is a miscarriage of justice, because the facts as they're being evinced from people who were on the ground, who saw and heard and experienced, give a different picture than what they're getting from authorities. They can be very helpful.
And when you feel that you are not being treated right, you should speak out. And if people won't listen to you, you need to speak out further.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened in this case. This family wanted justice. And I'm not commenting on the McMichaels. That's not my place, okay? And they've got rights, and they're presumed innocent too. But they spoke out. They wanted justice. They weren't treated right. And they kept talking, and nobody was listening. And I know some of the people who were trying to help them, and nobody was listening.
Is your client one of them? Was he one of the people trying to help? Is your client one of the people who was trying to help the Arbery's?
He was helping that day. Yes, sir. But for him, there would be no video.
That's true.
Is it true that had he not filmed the killing of Ahmaud, that we would never know what happened? Yes, this is true. Does that make Mr. Bryan a hero? Absolutely not. It does not. What it does show is the continued injustice that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and the fight that must continue on. In closing, I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it's for or against. Thanks for watching.